What's up, everybody? We're back again with some more World of Warcraft, and today I wanted to dive into a topic that was requested the other day when I was streaming, which is how do I set up multiple hotbars for multi-spec tunes? Like, what does my hotbar situation look like? How does this change? I play mostly with controller, although I do mouse and keyboard for specific things. And I'm going to be showing you my warrior today because this is the most simplistic way you can do it. But then I can switch over to the Druid and I'll show you something that's a little more complex because there's a lot more going on with the Druid and there's a dramatic difference between the two different specs that I'm playing there, whereas there's not so much of a dramatic change here, so the hotkeys and the hotbars don't change that much. So we're going to be diving into all of that today. How do I set up my hotbars? Specific, what are the keys that I'm using? So on and so forth. So if that sounds fun to you, awesome. Welcome. If you're new, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Streams happen daily here and on Twitch. You can also check out our Discord. Come join us on the Moonguard server if you'd like to. We raid Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Central, normal mode only, just for story. Nothing sweaty, no heroics, no mythicals. And beyond that, I do a lot of different things here on YouTube, so make sure to check out all the playlists. Get a copy of my latest book. Links are down below. It's fantasy, it's Dragonlance, Forgotten Realm style. You'll love it. Alright, so the first thing to understand is that I do play between mouse and keyboard and controller, but I do mostly controller. So the way I have my hotbar set up is a little bit different than what I used to do, because since I started playing with the controller, I've changed things up a bit. So it used to be I would fill up every single hotbar area on my hotbars, every single button. But now I leave spaces, and there is a strategic reason for that, because I like to be able to drag. If I occasionally get something that I think is going to be useful for a little while, I'll drag it down there, like a quest item that I need to click, or trinkets, or things of that nature. Otherwise, I used to just pack everything up, but now I leave spaces. So you're going to notice spaces here, and not everything is full, because I don't need to. It's pretty nice the way I've got things set up. So as a general rule, on the right-hand side of my screen, all the way over there, you're going to find the things that are like the 60-minute buffs. I'll put those out of the way because I don't need to be clicking them very often, and so that's stuff that just doesn't go into my rotation. This kind of stuff I'll keep over here on the side because I'm not going to be using that frequently, but it's there for if I need to when I'm grouping up with other people. A lot of the times, if it's stuff that I'm going to be using frequently, I'll drag it down here on the hotbar, but you'll see here in a bit what's going on here. Actually, I don't even think I need that on this one. So what I have here is set up for the controller. So if I move over to the controller, you'll initially see what I've got going on. The way I like to play these days is I have my primary two abilities in the 1 and 2 slots. And that's because even if I'm doing mouse and keyboard 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, those are the attacks that I'm going to be consistently using on any given build. Now, some of these things may transition over. As an example, charge I use in both stances, and I have an arms stance and I have a protection stance for this character, and I will use charge on both ones. So charge I always leave in the number 1 slot. That's just it. So no matter when I switch specializations, I always have charge linked to number 1. Number 2 is whatever is the second most important ability for that specialization. In this case, it's overpower for arms, but when I'm in protection stance, it's shield bash. So you'll notice that changes. Now when I switch over to mouse and keyboard, it's RT LT. RT being primary, LT being secondary. So boom, 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 boom. Right there, I got it at my disposal. It's great. The number 4 slot on my hotbar is my interrupt. That's my primary interrupt. It's the Y button on the controller for me. And that's set up on all of my characters, not just this character. Every character that I have, it's set up this way. Primary, secondary, main interrupt is in the Y slot. And then across the board here, we get into everything else that is part of my main rotation, which is Slam, Rend, Mortal Strike, everything that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0, which is 10, and then 11 and 12 down here in the main hotbar. Those are all going to be right here. And those are going to change depending on the stance that I'm in. And we'll take a look at that in a minute when I switch that over. So everything beyond the right trigger, left trigger, and interrupt. Those are the ones that persist through like every single build I'm doing, every single stance. Primary, secondary, interrupt. Those abilities we always keep there. Everything else is just I'm going to put on the rest of this main hotbar, and these are the abilities that I use pretty much every time. So since I'm in armed stance right now, this is all my DPS causing abilities, including three AoEs at the very end. Now the way I play things, and we'll switch over now to my protection stance to show you something here. You'll notice that charge is going to remain in the same exact place as does the pummel, which is my interrupt. Other stuff takes preference now. Now we still have slam, rend, and revenge, right? Those carried over. So let's reactivate. Numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8 actually you'll see stay the same. 5, 6, 7, and 8, those are the exact same abilities. This is slam, rend, mortal strike, and execute. Those stay the same between my stances. And they stay in the exact same spot. But then the 9, 10, 11, 12s change depending on whether I'm going into my protection stance or staying in my DPS stance. So these are just things that are unique to the specialization that I'm doing. Then the second row, which is the alt, this middle row, this contains all of my like secondary abilities that I will use infrequently because they often have long cooldowns, or they're just something like that I need. Like as an example, Titanic Throw, I think I keep that on both. Let me double check here. Pretty sure I keep it in the A2 slot in both. Yeah, it stays the same both because that's my throw, which does an AoE throw. And the way I have that set up on the controller is I'm hitting the LB, LT, and A. So I just hold these two down, hit A, and I just throw, and then immediately follow that up with a charge, and it works great. But you can do it manually here too. Start with this, follow with the charge, and then you're good. So those stay the same between the two. And then I've got things like Sweeping Strike stays in the same... sorry, it does not. It gets changed by Shield Charge if I'm going over to Protection, but it's in the same slot. A5 on the keyboard, Alt 5. And that's pretty much it. And then at the end of the alt, like Alt 0, 11, 12, or Alt minus, Alt equal, whatever you want to say here, these are always going to be alternate AoEs for me. This is like the AoE taunt. This is the normal taunt. This is demoralizing shout. And then up here, C7, 8, 9, and 10, these are my things that I'll pop when I'm on a boss fight or need to do things. So that's like my avatar, shield wall, last stand, ignore pain. I keep those up top. Now I don't use anything there in arms because I don't need to. I'm not really ever grouping on arms other than normal groups, so I don't need to worry about any of that stuff for the raids because I'm not raiding with the character. This one over here, which is C1, C2, and C3 for me are like my heals, which on the D-pad I've got that set up to like, it's just up, right, and left. So like up is my heal in combat ability, impending victory, and then right is my heal potions if I've got them, and left is eat food. So I just hit the controller and I eat food. So I keep those grouped up together. That's kind of it for the warrior. Now it's a little more complex, and we're going to camp out and show you the druid. It's a little more complex than the druid. Because the druid has way more abilities, and there's a total shift in everything from one stance to the other. The warrior, it's even though I'm changing stances, I keep a lot of the same abilities on the hotbar because they're like rend and mortal strike and revenge, charge. All those things are main abilities throughout the different stances for warriors, so they're always on the hotbar. That is not the case on the druid. So the druid has 4 unique specializations, and each one of these is completely different. Now there are some abilities that are agnostic to the character. So if you look up here, those are going to be your normal druid abilities and you have to look through here. This is where you see things like bark skin. Bark skin is an agnostic ability that can be used anywhere. Dash is an agnostic ability that can be used anywhere. Entangling roots, anything that doesn't have a requirement, like Mangle says bear form, cat form, right? Like Moonfire, things of that nature. Mark of the Wild. Again, my buffs go up here, same place that they go on my fighter up on the top right. And then all my reses are up here on the far right, and my mount is always in the same place over on the right. But here's where things get tricky. So, you know how on the first hotbar, the primary hotbar down here, all those abilities for my warrior, for the most part, stayed the same, right? It was like charge, rend, all the ones I just mentioned a minute ago. They all stay the same as I switch stances. That doesn't work here, and the reason it doesn't work for the druid is because when I'm in balanced stance, my primary hotbar is all DPS spells. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. It's all DPS spells. And as a result, I have it all set up, as to where I go from my single targets with some that they're single target dots that also do some AoE stuff these days. That's 1 and 2. Those are my primary 2 abilities right here. And then I get into all my Moonkin stuff, and then on the far right I have Starfall and Warrior of Lune, which are my AoEs that I can do. Now, when I switch over, and at the top I've got like all my shape-shifting and heals, right? I still kind of keep the heals in the same spot here for self-heals and stuff because I'm playing this with the controller, right? I'm still playing this build with the controller, and so I've got everything set up for that. However, when I switch over to Restoration, this is where things change dramatically. Now, some things that stay are agnostic for me are the travel forms, all the forms. I keep those up here so that they're the same place for each specialization. I can use those. And my buffs stay the same, and my reses stay the same. Those all stay in the same spot. However, when I go into heal stance, my primary hotbar becomes all heals, and my damage spells go up to the secondary. Because I'm very rarely ever going to be doing damage with this build. When I'm in restoration stance, I'm here to heal. That's all I'm here to do. So I don't ever really worry about DPS. I need to go transmog because that cloak looks horrific, and that club I got too. Anyway, so it's a little more complex here, but the main theory holds is that my primary heals are 1 and 2, and then the rest of these are a little bit different. Now, I don't currently heal with the controller, even though I play controller for just about everything else. And the reason is because I haven't set it up yet. What I need to do is I'm going to end up setting up the D-pad to select members on the directional pad so that I can go through and cycle through like F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, so on and so forth, and cycle through the group members and be able to heal from there. But I just haven't set it up yet because that is something that's a little extra. Because normally if I was just healing with mouse and keyboard, which like last night we did a dungeon, and I think that's coming out. It already came out, I think, as of this airing because I put it out before this video. That was my first time healing with restoration stance, and so I had to set up my hotbars. And when I was doing it with the control, I was like, "There's no way I'm doing this with the controller," so I just set it up for mouse and keyboard. And later on, I'll adjust the controller layout a little bit. But it's the same thing where I've got my primary heals in 1, 2, and my AOE heals are all the way off on the far right over here. And then like Typhoon stays the same no matter what stance I'm in. It's over here. Yeah, it just stays the same. One thing I need to do is I need to move Shadow Meld in the same spot, but I've got it moved on my other hotbar. Anyway, like I said, it's more complex on the Druid than it is on the Warrior, and that's kind of just going to be the way it is for the most part. Like the Hunter, there's not going to be too much variation because a Hunter is kind of a Hunter. The Warrior is a Warrior. But where you're going to see major differences is like, for example, when you have a heal stance versus a DPS stance, your main hotbars are going to completely change because you're going from one to the other, and that's such a dramatic change between the two, whereas a tank has multiple abilities that can be used in DPS stances as well as tank stances, and then you have like your Hunter where you've got certain abilities that are agnostic to all of your stances. So that is a quick video on how I set up my hotbars for multi-stancing with the tunes. I very much have like set slots where I put specific things, like the interrupt always goes in that slot for the characters. So it's just the way I play. Anyway, if you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams between here and Twitch because we're multi-streaming. You can come join us on Moonguard if you would like. We raid on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Central and do tons of stuff throughout the week. It's all normal stuff. I think there's a handful of people who do mythical content in the guild, but none of the official guild activities are mythical. We do normal mode only just for story purposes and for fun, and we do have a lot of good fun. So check out all the other playlists, join the Discord. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Happy gaming.